Okay, we know the drill. First step, tape our page down, nice and straight. And then lay out our title block. Or first our border, then our title block. So 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. I've also been asked by students before, like, why I don't use the ruler on my T-square as kind of like my reference for making measurements and stuff. Why do I use this? And it's just because this way, when I'm like taping everything down, I don't have to like try to line things up with measurements and then like do little mental math from where I'm starting. Like if I'm starting at 3, what's 6 inches over from there? It wouldn't necessarily be difficult math, but I just find it easier to use the ruler. And also, not all T-squares have rulers built in on them. This one does, and I believe the ones in your kits do as well. But could you use the one on your T-square? Yes, absolutely. But I just find it easier to use this. And then I'm just laying out at 4, 3, 2, and 1.5. And bada bing. I've got my title block. So now I'm going to get ready to start my object and its front face. So for the front, I'm just going to pick a place in the lower left corner to start. Kind of put a guideline out for the front view and a guideline up. So what I'm going to do now is just create an overall bounding box and use that subtractive method that I've been kind of referencing in the other ones. And so I'm just going to say that it has an overall height of 2. And I'll also make a little notation here that it has this little feature, this little ledge at 1 inch. And then again, it has an overall length of 6. And I'll also make a little reference that that ledge goes about 3 inches over, just so I don't have to measure or go grab my ruler another time to make that measurement. And so at that 6, I'll project a line up. I'll do the same thing at that 3. And then line across at 2. Line across at 1. And I brought that all the way across for a reason. And the other thing is, you can kind of see on the camera how I made that line a little bit darker. And then once I got to that 3-inch mark, I kind of used a different pressure to make this part of the line a little bit lighter. And that's because this is going to be a hidden line versus this is going to be a solid line. So what it's referring to is the fact that in that little middle part, we have that little grooved slot. Now, if I'm looking at this front face, I can't see that back there. I can't see that there's that opening back there. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means that I can't see it from this particular view. So this is where I would grab my handy dandy erasing shield. And again, I usually line up one of the circles with the edge of the object and then just slide it over so that it is covered right on that edge. So that this way, when I go to erase, I am keeping it as a solid right against the side of the object. And again, if it doesn't reach as far as I need it to, I'll just go line up one of the circles with one of my empty spaces. and go in and erase. And we'll extend that one a little bit out. Oops, sorry. My big blue head's in the way. I just realized. And so now I have it as those even dashes. This is a solid line. I'll erase this guide because there is no edge there at all in this object. That's just a guideline to help me get this part. And same thing up here. There is no object up in this corner. It's just a guide, so I will erase it. And so what that little line is telling me is that there's something going on there. You're just going to have to look at a different view to see it. So let's start on one of those different views, and we'll make our top. So I'm just going to pick a edge to kind of start my top view. So this right here is the same as this corner here. And anywhere I have a vertical line in the top view, I'm just going to project it up to help me make my depth for my top. So I'm just going to project all of those up. So that way I don't have to measure out the length. I already have this measurement of 3, and I already have this whole measurement of 6. Now what I don't have is anything referring to the depth, so I do have to go measure those out myself. And the whole object has a depth of 3. So I'm going to measure 3, make a notation, draw a line across, and so now I have something that shows that there's this level here and these up here, but this isn't all just one piece and the other piece, like how, excuse my arm in the way, how this is. These are two very similar objects, but then this one just has that slot going through it. So we need to show that. And so those little ledges are 1 inch in on each side. And so I'll just make little marks of where they are. Draw lines across. But I'd want to get rid of this middle line here. And that's because if we look at it, this is just all one piece going all the way through. There is no edge or anything right there. So I want to keep that as just an open piece there. And so there's my top view. And now for my side, I'm going to throw a miter line from where the top and rightmost lines meet. So that's 45 degrees from that corner. And then project these lines out to meet it. So anytime I have this horizontal line, I'll project it over to meet. And then anywhere they meet, project them straight down. So again, just to give myself a little less stuff to erase, I'm just going to not do them all the way. So I'm just lining up where it would meet and then projecting down. And same things with these horizontal lines. Some of them I didn't make tall enough. Oops. Easy fix. So now I've got this little grid for my side view. I've got even spacing in between all my views. I've got alignment of my edges in my views. I just need to kind of carve out how this becomes this. So again, similar to another shape we looked at before. So this looks just like this grooved block. So I want to get rid of this top part here. Since there is no back to that face, it does go all the way through that slot. So that's why I don't want anything up here. And I don't want these lines here either, because there is no edge happening on here, like any vertical edges happening. However, I do need to show that there's this ledge back here. But when I'm looking at it from this side, because if I project it with front, top, right, with the way that it's oriented in that picture, this would be the side that I'd show. And I can't see that ledge back here. I can't see this edge when I'm looking at it from this view. So I need to show it with a hidden line, because it's still there, it's just not visible. However, this brings up a good point about something called the precedence of lines. So the precedence of lines means that sometimes two lines are going to overlap. Technically, that entire ledge would be a hidden line going all the way across because it goes all the way. However, there is a visible edge of this face on the object itself. So now I've got two lines that overlap each other, that coincide. They're in the same spot. I've got a hidden line that would go all the way across here and a visible line right here. If we have two lines that coincide, we always draw that visible line or that object line over anything else. So if there's a visible edge that also occupies the same space as a hidden edge, we would draw the visible one. So in this case, we would have a hidden line on this side of the object. There'd be a little dashed area, and the same thing over here. We'd have a hidden line again on this other side. And technically, yes, this hidden line does follow all the way through the object, but because there's that visible edge right there, we only see it on these two sides. And that's why we need all of the views to tell the story of the object as best as it possibly can. Otherwise, it just becomes, if I just have just this, I can't understand the full story of the entire piece. Personally, on like another, just a little side note, I would not want to orient the object this way. I'd probably want to do it this way. And then I still would have a hidden line here. I'd have this up here. But then when I would look at this side view, I would be able to see that edge. However, I feel like in the textbook where I got these problems from, they probably did it that way to go over things like precedence of lines. But if I was setting this up myself, I probably would just have this view flipped around. The last step is we're going to fill out our title block. So this is called the grooved support. And again, we want to always make sure we're lettering, which, whoops, might have been a little too large for there, but the groove support block. And then your own name, the date you drew this on, the scale, which is 1:1, 1 inch on paper is 1 inch in real life, and how many are associated, how many drawings associated with this block. So this is drawing 1 of 1.